Hello, everyone, and welcome back to either the MyFootballWriter YouTube channel or the MyFootballWriter Spotify account, whichever way you are choosing to watch or listen to the newest instalment of the MFW podcast. It's episode 52, and as it has been as of late, it is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors, the Fat Cat and Canary. I'm Freddie Humphrey Wakefield, and I'm joined by a terrific duo of Jack Wright and Will Grant. But before we dive into well, there was no Norwich, fortunately, because it was international break, but they're back playing this weekend against Bristol City. But what's been going on for the pair of you during the international break? I don't know. What you've been getting up to? You've been mowing the lawn? Have you been, I don't know, what do people do in October these days? Getting the sweets ready for Halloween, maybe. But what have the pair of you been doing this last week and a bit?
Yeah, I certainly don't mow the lawn in autumn, mate, but each to their own. But overall, I've been all good. Working as normal, as most people actually do, I think, Monday to Friday. Also got a few runs in myself, so trying to keep fit, lose the calories, but then again, it feels like when a weekend comes, you've got to have a few beers to try and get through not just abject performances of the last few months. But overall, I'm good. Apart from football, obviously. Jack, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I also have not been mowing my lawn because, as Will said, it's autumn. Freddie, you absolutely smack of a man who's never mowed a lawn in his life. But I'd also like to say thank you for turning up for once. It's nice for you to actually be leading one of these. I'm sorry. I joke. You've been very busy, and we'll let you off. It's nice to have you at the helm. It's nice to not have to hold the podcast together. But I've been okay. I watched my team win 5-0 away from home yesterday. That was really nice. Really good form from my team, England. Again, it's such a shame that the international break has to come to an end, and I have to watch Norwich now. It's really quite upsetting. But apart from that, I've been fantastic.
No, well, very good. Well, you say I've been busy. No, I really haven't. I've been doing absolute niche as of late. I've been sort of curled up in a ball since that day at Portman Road, which I'm sure maybe we'll talk about a tiny bit, or we don't really have to. We've done plenty of videos as of late. Thank you for the support on them, actually. The match day experience, I think, is now the 5th or 6th most viewed video on the channel, mainly from them lot, not our lot, but it is what it is. And then Will and Henry did a great Nodge Spotlight video about really just the really concerning times at this football club, which we'll talk about a bit more today. But those two did a great video on it, and that video's been doing really well. I think that's nearly on 1,000 views. So again, thank you to everyone who's been watching and subscribing. Don't go unnoticed, because we love looking at the data, us lot, just to see if people actually like what we do. So no, that's a big thank you to everyone. But let's get into what sort of is to come, rather than a review as we do on the podcast. It's a bit more of a preview. So Norwich have now got 6 games to come in a little under a month. They've got 3 at home, beginning with Bristol City at the weekend, Liam Manning's former team. They also have to play Hull City, who have been somewhat struggling, and then Leicester City, who have been doing quite well under Martí Cifuentes since he came in the summer. And of course, all form is very important, but home form, it's crucial, isn't it? Norwich are still yet to win a game at home. They're yet to get a point at home. That's how bad they have been. First time in their history of 123 years that they've lost all 5 of their opening 5 home games. Fans are saying it's not good enough and that it's an embarrassment. I can't really disagree with them. It is nowhere near good enough for a team who, let's not forget, were unbeaten at home for a whole year, not so long ago. But just to pose the question to you two, not only is all form important, but home form, something needs to happen, and it needs to happen quick, because otherwise Norwich are going to be forced into making changes, which perhaps some people are surprised they've not made just yet.
Yeah, and I think it's integral that we get a win at home sooner, obviously, rather than later. But if I was to look at the next 6 games coming up, I see it as maybe a chance for us to actually accumulate some points. I think it's a easy run of games compared to the last month of games. Maybe that's me being a bit optimistic there, but I generally do think there's some games there for Norwich to really try and attack. I look at the games against obviously Hull at home, Sheffield Wednesday away as well, Derby away. All of those teams have had mixed starts this season, albeit Hull have picked up as of late as well. But even as you said, Freddie, as well, the game against Bristol City as well this Saturday, hugely important. And I think we desperately need a result in that game. I think I saw somewhere today that Bristol City are without 4 or 5 of their midfielders for the game as well. So that's an absolutely huge window of opportunity for Norwich to try and get a win there. Then again, I think I also thought as well, Bristol City are also very good sides. But in the season, I think under the manager, under Struber, we look a very, very good cohesive outfit, and I think that 2-week international break might have actually helped them a bit to try and get obviously some bodies back into the building, but more so as well just to get the players a bit more fresh again. And I think that probably does play to our disadvantage. But look, we'll see. I think there's definitely going to need to be some bravery and courage shown in the home games coming up. Carrow Road isn't a nice place to be right now, and to be honest, it's also quite a chore for the fans to actually go there and watch and play at the minute. I think, as I did say in the last video as well that I've done with Henry, albeit I did say we ain't the best at scoring goals, and we ain't the best at trying to keep them out either. But I think one thing which has been impressive recently, or more so for the last 2 games and a bit really, is our high press, and we have had some good success really at trying to push teams back, and I think that has worked to an extent. So hopefully we try and use that strength to our advantage again, really. So overall, it's a massive week for Man, and I feel like in the next 3 games, obviously it's Bristol City Saturday, then it's Derby midweek away, then Swansea away midweek. I feel like if he loses 2 of those games, he's in real big trouble, and I think he's probably got to win one of those games at least at home, and that is this Saturday. So absolutely no excuses. And you could just tell if we go 1-0 down, which is probably likely due to how poor we've been at home this season, the crowd are going to turn, not only due to the poor performance on the pitch, but all the stadium reaction as well is going to come fuming out as well. And I feel like, and I think Manning needs at least 4 points to try and just keep the doubters from starting to really turn. But it feels like ideally probably needs 6-7 points.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing with the home form is vibes, because just at the moment the vibes are awful, as you've mentioned, Will, and to go into what could potentially be a 6th home loss in a row, very feasible. That could definitely happen. I think even if we sneak like a 1-0 win, I still don't think that's good enough, weirdly. I think that the fan appetite at the moment is so distant and so disinterested. We almost need to just win 5 or 6-0 and someone else other than Josh Sargent to have a man of the match performance. Obviously, if Sargent had a man of the match performance, that would be fantastic. But I feel like we need something quite big. Either a heavy win against Bristol City, or 2 or 3 on the bounce. Maybe that's me just being really facetious, but looking at how that West Brom game played out, it was drab, it was vanilla, it was and really I don't like the sort of fan reaction of but the West Brom goalkeeper had a man of the match performance. No, he didn't. He made 2 or 3 half decent saves. We were absolutely subpar in that game, and then continued to be subpar against the other team, which I'm now refusing to talk about again. So yeah, I think it's those vibes are on the floor at the moment. And I think there's almost like a really kind of funny scenario whereby we could win the next two and then lose the next four, and Manning could be safe as a result of those two wins because he'll then get his illustrious home win. He'll then, continue the decent away form, and then the board will be like, well, our decision to not act rashly was justified, and we're going to continue to give him time. At what point will we be happy with Manning Ball? I would probably say when it's over, but yes, we'll see. I mean, a loss at home to his former team, if losing to Ipswich wasn't, the deciding factor, then surely losing against his former employer is. But maybe not. Maybe we're just going to, keep him until we're playing Dover Athletic away.
No, well, it's interesting there. I think the factor which you said about you wouldn't be happy with a 1-0 win, I don't think I agree with it personally. I'd take any win whatsoever. Just win a game of football. It's something we haven't done in quite a while. So I think for any, that would surely maybe just get something up and get fans up for it. It doesn't matter how you go about winning a game of football or how you're playing it. As long as you win the game, you get 3 points. You don't get an extra point because, oh, look, we passed it about nicely. We looked good while doing it. No, maybe, it might get you some plaudits from pundits, but it doesn't get you anything else. So just win the game. That's all that matters. Just go out there and put the ball in the back of their net more times than they put it in yours. It's a simple game, football, that just sometimes gets far too complex. But anyway, before I get far too complex, we're trying to make things make sense. We'll go back on to Manning, and there is no nail in his coffin just yet, despite really just such a poor showing at Portman Road and getting the result of which was deserving of the performance, especially in the second half. Just the first half, Norwich actually looked like they wanted to be there and were showing good fight and were making a Derby Day game out of it. Second half, just shocking. Some of the substitution decisions as well, shocking. But I've said that in previous videos and everything along those lines. But as you may have slightly mentioned, Jack, the club's had 2 weeks if they wanted to pull the plug and end this project very, very early, but they have opted to stick with him. And does that mean maybe that there is a plan B, perhaps, of the club put in that contingency plan maybe over these 2 weeks? Or have they maybe they not? And if you think that they have and there is one, what could that plan maybe look like for Norwich? Because it is a genuine possibility that Manning could be gone in quick time, but there's a possibility we get proven wrong. But if he is to go in quick time, do you think the club have done something to at least cover themselves if it does happen?
I think it's one of those situations really where you can't really win, because if we do end up losing the next 2 games out of the 3, for example, and fans will probably be making the conclusion, well, why didn't you sack him earlier? And then again, if that does come to fruition, then those fans do have a point, absolutely. But for me, I've thought about it a lot more over the last week, really, and I've thought to myself, who is actually the main culprit for our downfall at the minute? Albeit, I think it's a combination of many factors right now, and people all within the club should take blame. Obviously, the players, manager, sport director, whatever. But the more I think about it, the more I do have some sympathy for Liam Manning, just due to the extent where he's had to deal with such a big player turnover in the summer. Obviously, we were expecting that absolutely 100%. But I also feel like in recent games as well, he has shown some ideological thoughts in a sense of how he wants to play, especially out of possession as well. So I'll give you an example. When we try and press high, we've got some really effective players like Sargent, Senator, etc., who are very, very good at that, especially in the attacking third of the pitch. On Oscar Schwartau as well, fantastic at doing that. But then if teams do decide to go long against us and we push up so high and the defense is up to the halfway line, for example, then who actually got in that defensive line to actually cover if teams do actually do well enough to play over us? Because there's absolutely no recovery place there as well. And for me, that comes back to, again, just poor squad building. You've got 6.5 at the club right now for me, where I don't look at any of them and think, you know what, you are our athletic centre half who can try and make those big recovery tackles. I just don't think there is one. I think the club think that is Jose Cordova, but I'm yet to be convinced that he's actually capable of doing so. I still think he's way too unreliable. I think at times he does showcase his speed, but I just overly think he's quite clumsy. So then again, I come back to the point of, is it just poor squad building as well? I mean, why have we gone to sign Jakubedic, for example, when you've already got like two other box defenders in the likes of Harry Darling and McConville? Like, it just, some of it to me, I feel like Manning has been let down by poor squad building. And then it comes back to the point again where I'm just confused what we're actually trying to do. And I feel like, again, maybe I think there's some early signs we might have recruited poorly in some areas. And for me, that's my line of thought right now. I think Napa, although I think he's showcased some great qualities in terms of his ability to generate fantastic fees to the club, absolutely. That can't be questioned. I mean, look at Adamida, for example, Kamara to a lesser extent, Jonathan Rowe, etc. That's been fantastic. I can't blame him about that. But has he actually showcased in his 2.5 years since he's been here an ability to build a squad? I'm not too sure. I just think there's been some signs for me, especially where we've been crying out for a certain profile of player in that specific role, and that just hasn't come to fruition whatsoever, really. And then, for example, if we then do decide to get rid of Liam Manning again, we're then back to square one again, where we probably will need another squad rebuild because this new manager probably hasn't got the resources to do so. So it's one of them for me where I think over the last week, I feel like Napa's probably should take more of the blame so far to a poor start than Manning. But equally, Manning's style of football has been absolutely dire to watch at home, and I don't say that lightly. I've been to all the home games, and you just don't feel excited. I mean, as well as wanting to see my team win at the weekend. I mean, that's what you want to see, right? But it's just the general kind of excitement levels to watch Norwich. It never really feels like we're actually close to scoring a goal, really. And that is the sad thing about it. And I think he's got to find some ways to try and change that. I really do. I think some of his combinations and team selections have been a bit mysterious. I look at the likes of Ante Cernac getting maybe too much game time when maybe he shouldn't do as well. So, and also as well, Oscar Schwartz, I think he was one of the first subs in the East Anglia Derby when arguably he probably was our best attacking players again. So, although I think most of the reasons why I've been so poor so far is just due to a lack of actual profiles, which we actually need at times in the squad to deal with certain scenarios. I don't think that's been there, certainly, but Manning has definitely got to take huge blame in terms of the way how he's managed to try and create this team to be a very good cohesive unit. Because right now, so far, as I said earlier, we're not particularly a good attacking team, and neither are we a good defensive team either. So there's got to be some serious questions asked. But I think right now, I think it's more Napa's fault for our poor start to the season rather than Manning. So would I give him more time? Maybe, but then again, I'm torn. I really am, because I feel like if he loses these next two games, it does get to a position where is his position untenable? Maybe it is. So, in short, I'm still confused, but I think my headspace right now is that I think Napa probably is the one who's responsible for this bad start to the season.
Well, am I torn? Probably not. I'm very disinterested in Manning Ball. I've firmly just have had no interest at all. I said it during our live stream after the derby. I think I quite frankly think the board are bigger bottle jobs than Freddie's massive bottle there. That's a big bottle. Look at the size of that. I mean, either Freddie is a normal sized human and that's a giant bottle, or it's just like an average size like travel bottle, and he's like, a borrower or something. The Borrowers was a film of really tiny people that lived in people's houses. I think it came out in the 90s. Children, you can watch it later. Anyway, let's not talk about Borrowers. Let's talk about Liam Manning and whatever's going on there. Yeah, I think this was kind of the perfect opportunity to, relieve him of his duties and have 2 weeks to work with a squad, potentially not many who were on international, and bring someone else in. I mean, if I was in Napa's position or the Atanasio's position or whoever makes the final call, I would have probably said that the derby is the ultimatum. And I think the fact that it was an embarrassing result, it was a poor performance, and the club media have pretty much been silent throughout the last 2 weeks, apart from a few kind of, Oscar Schwartau is playing for the Denmark under 21s. I was like, I'm not interested. I just want us to not be rubbish. In terms of what the plan B, like whether there is a plan B, that is wishful thinking from my point of view. I would love the idea that our top brass know what they're doing and have a contingency plan. But somehow, I think, given Napa's track record, it seems like he kind of, either throws a dartboard or has one of those little paper things that you give me a colour, blue. Blue, 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 blue. It says here, hire Jack Wilshere. Oh, we can't do that. He's at Luton. What I think the point that I'm trying to making it is that I don't feel like there is kind of a master plan, unfortunately, and I think there will be kind of mad panic if we do lose the next two. I think even like losing the next one, losing against Bristol City, if he isn't sacked instantly after that, even if we lose, I would be so confused as to what on earth is going on the basis that, like we've said before, Torup was relieved of his duties for not getting top six. We are bottom six at the moment, I think, or bottom, yeah, the exact opposite. So I don't quite get it, and I think I always kind of think back to Farker in the Premier League when he got that brilliant away win at Brentford, first win of the season. Yeah, we've done it. We're finally Fark ball is going to work in the Premier League. What? He's been what? Why what? And that was clearly calculated, regardless of what the result was or anything. He was going to go straight after that game. Maybe some sort of magical plan is brewing as well, and maybe that would be a nice little send-off for him. Gets his first home win against this former team, and we can say, off you pop, please never come back, give us back your keys, like we're deactivating your fobs. And I'm not holding back, because I'm so, like, I'm in such a dark place. Like, Dean Smith ball was like bad, but at least there was some sort of like fun vibes about it. Like, at least we'd have kind of just been relegated and had a bit of time to think, if we bounce back well from this, then we can very quickly get back to the Premier League. The Premier League is now like not even in the rear window. It's like you have to like get a telescope to find how far away the Premier League is from us now. So yeah, maybe that is the combination, and maybe that is where this apathy comes from. Because seeing a capacity at Carrow Road of 24 and a bit thousand, that doesn't happen. And people are voting with their feet, and quite rightly. I'm going to try and get a ticket for Hull at home. No. You put your face in the palm. Yeah, no, I will. I will, because I need my annual trip to Carrow Road. Yes, William, I am planning to leave my sofa. But yeah, I'm still going because I love this club and I love this fine city, and I love, irrespective of what on earth is going on right now, I wouldn't want to follow anyone else. And again, this is kind of the good moral credit that the entire board have kind of been banking on from all of the fans. And at the moment, as we talk about credit a lot from the media and everything, but yeah, I feel like that credit is running out for a lot of fans. What that plan B should be, I've really been toying with two sides of a very weird coin, because everyone says, right, we need to stick to our principles and play Torup's Farker ball, basically that style. We need that coach because those are the players that we brought in. That's what we suit. That's what we should do. I don't know who that manager is. Maybe there's someone in League One or someone in the second tier of Germany that could come in and magically change our fortune. Kjetil Knutsen, or whatever his name is. Maybe he doesn't want to play European football with Bodo Glimt anymore. Maybe he can finally come to Carrow Road. The other side of the coin is, like there's the angel and then there's the devil. The devil is just pulling my ear and saying, hey, Sean Dyche would actually do really well at Norwich. Like, no, hear me out. No. Like, it might actually work. And I'm like, no, it won't. It won't. But they're like, no, because like he's such a direct manager and he'll just motivate people and he'll, get the basic principles, rammed into them and, it'll be a success. I'm just like, no, but maybe. No, but perhaps. This is what the club has done to me. But tell me that Sean Dyche wouldn't be an upgrade on Liam Manning.
Sean Dyche would not be an upgrade on Liam Manning. There you go. No chance. No, we can't. Surely we can't. We can't do that.
We can.
Surely.
Oh, we can.
No, we can't. We absolutely can't. Well, Jack, you mentioned there you're going to Carrow Road. You look at and you're going to go when we play Hull. You can sit in the River End for one last time, because that's going to be the away end from next season on. Yeah, we're going there. We'll bring that up. There was a fan forum, actually, the night of which we're recording this, the 15th of October, all about it. From what I've read, didn't go very well. And it doesn't sound as if that the individuals representing the football club really took accountability. That simply going off what I read, part of Pinken's live blog. So, obviously, I wasn't there. I can only take what was written down and my own opinions of it. But let's quickly touch on the new proposed things for Carrow Road next season. New away end for the lower tier of the River End, or as it's now called, the Regency Security Stand. Apparently, our vocal fans are going to be in the Wensum corner now. I think that's what the club said in their little diagram they put. So I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. We'll give it a few months and we'll see. And then there's going to be a new fan zone, which was what Lion and Castle was meant to be. But now there's a new one, and it looks nice. To be fair, what I've seen of it in the futuristic diagrams, it looks like it could be a really good thing. Maybe it will be very beneficial. But at the same time, Queen of Iceni is 10 minutes down the road. There's loads of pubs around. It's not like Norwich is short of pubs. They put one in the Barclay end, but no, it's their decision. But let's just quickly, the pair of you, the away end is now the River End, and Norwich are going to have a fan zone. Thoughts, please.
I love my club, ish. Oh, goodness me. What I will say, first of all, is I'm so proud of those fans who are actually at the Lion and Castle tonight, and they vocalised their thoughts. They should have been consulted about it much earlier ago, 100% about that. But at that moment, I'm absolutely glad they got grilled, because normally during these AGM/fan events, we're normally asking Zoe Webber about what a favourite condiment is, like in the first 10 minutes. So at least that's a really good start to what happened. But yeah, and I think what what I want to take away from it personally is it's just the ethics of it for me as well. It's just the way I'm seeing it is like the club are portraying on that pitch the most important thing of a football ground on the pitch. They're producing a League One side right now in terms of the results and how we're playing. They're producing a League One side, and yet they're trying to speak the game of a Premier League team. It just feels like, lads, just timing, just have a bit of common sense, have a bit of empathy. Those fans have paid so much money each year to watch you be incompetent in the last 5 years, and I think the priority for me had to have been they should have been consulted about it, absolutely, and I'm just absolutely mortified that wasn't the case, really. Henry, in our last video, spoke in more detail about this, really, and about his Jake Humphrey rant, if you haven't seen it as well. But the point remains, to an extent, is that it's just totally immoral, really. And I keep saying it. This is like my MFW buzz phrase, I feel like, this season. But the club charged the second most expensive season tickets in the league. I think they deserve at least some consultation beforehand, personally. About the fan zone, they can really show where the sun doesn't beat. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really annoyed about it, really. The fans are what make this club. They are what make it so special, and to not even consult them beforehand and just go straight with it. Yes, I get you got to be more adaptable and move with the times, but ultimately these fans are more than just a bum on a seat on a Saturday. They are so incredible. They're the ones which spur you on, and it's just such a shame that it's materialized like this. And as well, the people which have made that decision have ultimately as well put more pressure on the players to perform, and that is definitely not what Liam Manning or Napa needs right now as well. So, look, they've put all the pressure on themselves with how they've spoken, conducted, and acted upon in the first 3 months of the season. And it's now up to the players who maybe aren't the ones too much at fault this season so far. Maybe they are, but it's just put so much pressure on the game Saturday, and it feels like we've got to start strong. Otherwise, Carrow Road could be a very, very toxic place, and rightly so. Fans deserve to let their frustrations be known, because if they're going to do stuff so discreetly, without any consultation, then fans should absolutely, within their right, be vocal, because it's totally not on. And I'm so sad still that fans are getting moved from their seats. It's just totally unethical. And whenever I look at it, there's just 5 times more cons to pros to whenever I kind of analyse it. So, Jack, please take over, mate, because I'm just going to be a wrecking ball, I feel like, of rage in a second. Jack, please take over, mate. What are your thoughts?
I think you've got to take into account that people from Norfolk don't like change, right? They wear the same coat since 1973. At work, that's got a few holes in it. That's all right. I don't mind that. That's all right. You know, I go to the same pub, right? I do the same crossword, right? I don't get it right. You know, I'm not that clever. But I try it. You know, and that's what it's all about. It's about taking part. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so I think you've got to take into account the fact that, like, change is scary, but then you've also got to look at it from the perspective of, like, what in terms of moving the fans, what's the point? Like, what is the point? Like, is it going to make us more money by moving them to a different place? Probably not, because it's going to be quite expensive to have to move all of the season tickets people and have to process all of their changes and have to. It sounds like they're going to knock down yellows and put some away entrances where the restaurant should be. That sounds really expensive. Why not just keep them where they are, right next to the lower Barclay, which is the most visceral part of the ground, which is the point, because, you know, you want to give the away fans something. And also, what's quite annoying is that then all the away fans are going to be on TV. Like, when you're watching them, they're going to be right behind the goal. I like not seeing that they exist. I like seeing when we score. lower river end limbs. It's happened once in the last 60 years, probably when Todd Cantwell scored against Man City. But show some respect on the lower river end. It's a part of the ground that exists. But yes, no, obviously, loads of season ticket holders in there that will have to change just for no reason whatsoever. And obviously, this kind of fan zone, we were discussing about it before. It's kind of the Americanization of football. Did anyone ask for like this? Like, the thing is about Norwich is that there's not many pubs. There's not many churches. There's not many pubs. Obviously not. That's what we're known for. We're known for having loads of brilliant pubs, including the Fat Cat and Canary, I must add. What's the point of it? Is it just like, will there be someone like DJing? If so, like I'm there. Like, I've got a banging playlist. Just you wait. I'll tell you what this is. As a really old man looking down, decrying modern football, it is woke nonsense. That's what it is. You can't call it anything else. And the moment that football went woke, I'll tell you when that was, children. It's when ITV stopped showing the Champions League and it moved to BT or TNT or whatever it is. Before that, football was sacred, and then after that point, it all just turned to complete nonsense. I am being hyperbolic slightly, but don't you agree? I feel like fans won't like the fan hub to start with, and then like a few people will go, and then it will probably be quite popular. I'm sure people didn't like pubs to start with, and then it's just, why am I going around to this man's house to drink? Like, that's weird. I'm not doing that. And then people loved them. So again, maybe it just takes people from Norfolk to get used to things, or maybe they're just really silly things that just don't need to exist at all.
Maybe we'll see. We've got a fair few months and a whole season to worry about first before that all comes into account. And maybe it's for the worse or it's for the better. So we don't know. That's the great unknown of these things and football itself as a sport. And speaking of great unknowns, Norwich's injury list. How does it happen every year? How? I don't understand it. It is inexplicable, and it's genuinely, you have to laugh at it because Jose Cordoba is now out injured and he's not going to be back for another 4 weeks by the sounds of things. So that's great. But there's a little bit maybe of positive news. Matthias Kvisgorum is going to be back maybe in a week. Ben Cresceni could be back in a week. I'm especially happy about that Cresceni news because the lack of a natural left back is soul destroying. It's so hard to watch a right-footed and naturally right-sided player play on the left. It doesn't work. It didn't work for Kieran Trippier for England a year ago. It's not going to work now. It's just, no, it's too uncomfortable. But no, Cordoba is now out, and that makes Norwich thin at centre half. Not even Shane Duffy is back to cover yet, and I think that says it all. Maybe there's a chance for Rory McConville, who scored actually for the under-21s for Northern Ireland against Germany the other night, and I think he's only made 3 Norwich City appearances since his arrival from Brighton and Hove Albion, and a lot of Brighton fans, well, I live in Brighton, I know a lot of them, they were actually quite upset that McConville left and was joining Norwich. I was told we actually had a very high potential, good, talented centre half. Yet neither Torup or Manning seem to want to use him. So will he finally get his chance? I thought maybe he would have more of a chance with us being a 5 at the back team, but that got completely just disregarded a fair few early games in, and we're back to being a 4 at the back. But is he finally going to get a chance, or is this just another signing on the Ben Napper list that ends up being a failure?
Goodness me. Yes, the famous injury list, and it is And for the people which love to play bingo like myself, it is month October where Kenny McLean will play in a back line this season. So yeah, I think in previous years it might have been post Christmas, but I think this year we've got a new record which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I think I would definitely be open to giving McConville a go. Absolutely. It feels like he's had quite a tough start to his Norwich career in terms of minutes wise as well. I don't really know what the plan is for him. It feels like obviously he's fourth for a centre half. Maybe should he go out on loan to maybe help his development out a little bit? Maybe who knows? I think that's more so a question for another day, in particular as well. But I think it is time to give him a go. Really, it feels we've given so many different combinations now a try, and we're still trying to find our best 11 really. And he might actually be part of that if he plays well, of course. So. But then again, one game at a time. Let's see how it goes, really. But I think definitely the Cordoba news, albeit he's such an interesting profile as Cordoba. There's one game where I'm absolutely tearing my hair out watching him play, just how clumsy and lackadaisical he is. And then against Ipswich, dare I say, I thought it was probably one of the better players, which is just absolutely crazy. It feels like my opinion of him just changes every game, and I think that probably is more so negative actually because he isn't trying to find that kind of consistent 7 out of 10 performances each week. So I think that's still something to work on from him. Then again, I also said the same thing about him probably in January as well. So maybe no improvement there still. But look, we'll see. We're still searching for that combination. Would I be surprised if Kenny McLean plays in the back line again? No, I wouldn't. But yeah, I think it's definitely time to see McConville hopefully play alongside Darling. That combination might work. Who knows? But I still feel like Norwich will still have the same issues if teams go long against us. If you play a high line, you just feel like if Bristol City go play quite a direct, almost like quick and agile front three, might have more problems again, which they might do with the likes of Anthony Metty and Scott Twine, etc. as well. So that is definitely something to be aware of as well. But then again, who else do Norwich really have to play that role? Really, Shane Duffy, he's injured at the minute, or trying to get back his fitness. I just think the sensible choice is McConville. But I come back to it again, and the recruitment side. I've absolutely got no clue why Norwich didn't go in for a centre half that can actually play in a high line and has got good recovery pace. I think it was literally one of the most easiest things to interpret when Manning came into the door. But obviously that wasn't done, and we decided to go for a more of a box defender in Medic or McConville, and Medic might actually play against Bristol City, because I think obviously that was quite a prevalent centre half pairing during pre-season as well. So who knows what he goes for, but I basically what I'm trying to say is I still feel like whichever the combination is, I still feel we'll have the same issues from counter attacks and long balls, etc. in a high line.
Yeah, I remember sort of watching one of McConville's more sort of prominent starts with you, Freddie, when Torup lost his marbles against Burnley, and unfortunately, like he had a half decent game, but misread a long ball over the top, and I believe that was Burnley's opener. And you talk about kind of individual moments in a game, and that's the one that I remember, and it's quite a sour taste in the mouth. And even then, he looked a little bit out of his depth. Yeah, he probably does deserve an opportunity, because who else have we got? At times, where if, for example, Norwich were kind of in the mid-table and perhaps not pushing near the playoffs, we'd be talking about a Norwich manager in the sense of, oh, he doesn't know his best 11. I think it hasn't even got to the stage of Manning not knowing his best 11. He doesn't know his best formation. He doesn't know his best centre-back pairing. He for some reason, absolutely despises Jacob Wright for getting sent off against Middlesbrough. And he was just like, no, you are never playing again. How dare you? I know you were fantastic last season and started the season really well. And actually, for a defensive midfielder, weirdly creative, no, you are not to play. I'm going to play two identical defensive midfielders, and that is that. That's a slight digression from centre half, but maybe, yes, you should play Jacob Wright, and maybe you should play McCarmer as well, because when he's played, he's been fantastic. Obviously, the goal against Stoke, and maybe, dare I say it, give our dear friend Mate Jurasek some minutes. And I think, we sort of debate and we hark on about how, we've set up a team to be really defensive without any creativity. Well, there's three sort of vaguely more creative midfielders or players right there that we're just refusing to play. So I don't buy this theory of we don't have any creativity at all. Obviously, we're going to keep going on about this every single podcast. We're missing that one creative midfielder that we just didn't recruit at all. It will be really funny if, like, the first player that we sign in January is like a kind of agile number 10 or sort of a more creative kind of number 8. That will be really funny, because that will just be like, that's you. That's you, Napa, admitting that you got it wrong. So again, there's been a very tangent about McConville. Yeah, start him. Why not? Medic has already been dropped, seemingly. Maybe we do need to, get some young, fresh blood in the team, because, yeah, I mean, that's another thing, is that he just doesn't seem to like young players either. I don't really know what he likes. I've got to say something nice about Liam Manning tonight. I can't be this negative. You have a really good way with words. No. I'll come back to me. I'll think of something.
Well, I was just going to ask a question before we go on to the quickfire ones. Maybe this is your chance to be nice. You mentioned it earlier, Jack, about losing this next game against Bristol City. It's quite funny, because if we are to win it, it would be Liam Manning's Bristol City that ended the 1 year over unbeaten run at Carrow Road. And it could be Liam Manning's Norwich City against Bristol City to get their first home win. So it's weird how that's sort of come full cycle. But the question from me, just a sort of a quick fire one before the quick fire ones. If it is Norwich lose against Bristol City, is Liam Manning going to be given his P45? Do you think it's as simple as that? He goes and this project is abandoned after about 11 or 12 matches in the league? Or is it Norwich not going to be as cutthroat as that? What do you both think?
My head says no, really, because I feel like if the scrutiny was already that high over one game, then I feel like we would have at least acted upon and the poor form and probably have sacked him during the international break. So I think my head says no, and I probably would say no even if we do lose as well. Just I know, but I think the way, as I said earlier, how I see it is, I feel like we've got to look at this next week as the 3 games coming up. You've got Bristol City, Derby away, and Swansea. I doubt the club are making almost like ultimatums saying you need 4 points, you need 6 points, you need 9 points whatsoever. But I really do feel like if we're still winless after those 3 games, then I think his time probably might be up. But I think the minimum points tally, which I think you need, probably is 4 points. I think. But I think ideally, we need about 6, maybe 7 points. I just don't think we can afford just this constant losing momentum. But you are really worrying from Manning if we do lose against Bristol City, because again, their squad is also very, very deflated as well and depleted. They're rumored to have 5 players out, and most of those players are in midfield as well. So, and as well as that, they also have quite a small squad anyway in the first place. So there are no excuses for me this game. The players have got to be on it. But more importantly as well, sorry to go on a tangent as well, but we've just got to get Sargent more involved as well. He is our best player, and the last month, the way how he's been isolated has been terrible. It just feels like Manning is just telling him just to stay central all the time, whereas I think probably one of his best strengths is actually running the channels and trying to get in one-on-one foot races with defenders. I think that's probably one of his greatest strengths, but he's been told, no, stay central, and we'll try and get the ball to you. And that's worked very, very successfully. Not. So my head says no, I don't think he will be sacked if we lose against Bristol City, but I think we've got to look at it more as this 3-game week, and if he doesn't get any more than 4 points, then I do worry for him.
Hey, it's a good question, and I've been very harsh about Liam Manning. I don't have anything personal against him. He's probably a lovely man. I just it's just been beyond drab and really quite unsettling, really. Just how that West Brom performance was very predictable, very pedestrian, and then you go into the derby knowing you're going to lose, and then you lose, and you feel nothing. Well, you feel odd, different emotions, but you don't feel anger or upset or anything because you kind of saw it coming. You've got to think about sort of other different scenarios here. We talk about whether the result, like loss or win, is kind of a deciding factor. But ultimately, we talk about the tempo, the style, and dare I say, the vibe again. Manning Ball just is so uninspiring. And I think if we were to get a 1-1 draw, yes, a point at home, but our goal was like an own goal from a corner off someone's backside. I think that's the point that I was trying to make earlier, Freddie. Yes, you'd take a 1-0 win, and you'd be really glad that the long losing run at home is it's been broken. However, you'd still probably leave the ground and think, well, that's still awful. Like this football is still stodgy, and it's not getting better. Yes, we snuck a win or a point or whatever, but what is the green shoots that it's going to get better? And I think it's kind of it was too early in the season to make any prediction, but ultimately Portsmouth, you left that stadium and you we were all very tense, obviously, by the end of it. But yes, we were obviously singing "We've Got Super Liam Manning," but we didn't really mean it. And at no point were we really kind of like optimistic and happy and kind of like, yeah, this is how it's going to go. And, and that's great. I think, ultimately we kind of just viewed that as, oh, well, it's early in the season, it's going to get better. And it just has kind of got worse, essentially. I think the performances need to improve more than anything. And I think maybe even that is the deciding factor. If we grind out 1-1 draws and don't get any wins and are just really quite flat, I would still say that that's time for the chopping block. What's the word? The end. I don't know the words. The end of his tenure, basically. But as you can tell, I'm very much kind of in Liam Manning out camp. Like you said, Will, I don't think that the club will twist. I think Napa is probably too stubborn and too proud. I think he'll probably try and stick Manning Ball out, and it might work. It might. Maybe it's one of those where we need Chris Gore and Chris Senny back from injury to have some form of like form and oomph. Maybe we need, a couple of decent players that we might be able to finance in January. Maybe at that point it will get better. But you can't get away from the fact that so far it has been shocking.
Yeah. No, it's been really, really bad. It's been quite comically bad, actually. But you mentioned there about giving it more time and everything. I said this in a previous video about if you give this time, you completely disregard the whole point of sacking Johannes Hoftorp, because that whole thing was about a 3-year plan. Give this time, give it all the signings. We'll work out who works here, who doesn't work, and we'll bring in players so it will work and it will be good. And we saw at times in that season last campaign where it was good. This was the thing. We saw that. But because he didn't achieve the short-term goal, which by the sounds of things wasn't really communicated all too much properly to him, he lost his job for it. And that, to me, if you keep a manager who is doing significantly worse than the prior one, what is the point? What was the point in even bothering with it? So that's my standpoint on it all. And I think if he was to have been sacked, I think the club should have already done it. I think that should have been done after the Derby Day loss, if it was going to happen any time. And give yourself the international break, because it would be typical Norwich to do it after a loss and then shoot themselves in the foot and think, oh, well, games are coming thick and fast now. We need a manager. What on earth are we going to do? So, yeah, that's my whole viewpoint on it. But we'll try and give it a bit more light-hearted and fun after really just sort of misery compilers for about an hour. So I believe it's actually Will who's got the quick-fire hot takes this time around. So I'll let it go on to him and we'll see what he's been sort of cooking up and what he's got to ask us.
Yeah, I'm feeling the pressure this week as Jack does an absolutely fantastic job normally. But I'll get straight in. This is a bit of fun, so no opinions are ever slated. He might just get laughed at. What is your guys' favourite Norfolk chippy?
I used to live near one called Chish and Phipps, so I'll go for that.
Oh, interesting.
I can't blooming remember. I can't remember what it's called. It's one of the ones in Harleston, basically. That was my local chippy. Although in my village where I grew up, the fine village of Arborough, we used to have the fish and chip van. I think it was every Friday, we'd drive to the village hall and we'd get fish and chips from a van. If that isn't Norfolk, I don't know what is.
Slightly tin pot, but I'll have to go for Mary Jane's and Cromer. I think if you know, you know. I think Cromer's the place to go for a chippy, personally. Anyway, my next question is: would you rather Yusuf Malumbu or Louis Thompson? Which one for you did you think was better?
Yusuf Malumbu, because he didn't have knees made of glass.
He did.
He didn't. He played more than Louis Thompson.
Just, I think.
I think we all live by that Leeds performance from Louis Thompson. I think that's probably the only game that you can recall. There was a player there. There really was. And for a player who was probably with us for about 5 or 6 years, to have one happy moment for him, it's quite a shame, really. And again, we laughed about our injury record. But he's one who, if you could wish a player didn't have an injury-ridden career, who knows what might have happened with Louis. But my heart goes with Louis. Sorry, Yusuf.
Absolutely agree. I am Team Louis Thompson, but Malumbu, when he was good in that, I think it was that black away kit with like the yellow and green stripe going down with the Aviva sponsor. Absolutely belting kit, by the way. I just thought about that the other day. I was like, yeah, that's a special one. I love that kit. Anyway, my next question. Between 2009 and... so between 2009, 2013/14, who was your favourite strike partnership alongside Holt? So was it either Steve Morrison, Simeon Jackson? Was it Chris Martin, in fact? Who was it? I'm really intrigued to know.
Simeon by a country mile. I adored Simeon Jackson so much. No, it's by far and wide Simeon Jackson for me.
I think for me it's Steve Morrison.
That's a great point.
Just for the Premier League vibes, I think. Just for like going to Arsenal away and getting a 3-3. Some of the some of the games that we managed to drag points out of in that first Prem season, we had no right. And can you imagine two players of the same level, of the same quality, playing as a front two in this current Premier League? It might work. It won't. But you look at how the landscape of the Premier League is so different to when we were playing, Bolton and Blackburn and like quite mediocre teams that are now quite big, like Villa, who at the time were sort of half decent. Like it just, those teams that were kind of average are now getting into Europe. It would never happen again. Golden moments, so you got to cherish them. Morrison and Hull.
Love that. I also want to add about Morrison as well. Do you remember he was as one number 5 for us as well? I thought that was also iconic and a bit Barclays as well, if I may add. But I'm going to go for Freddie with this one. Simeon Jackson. There's just something about Simeon, isn't it, which just made you fall in love with him. I don't know what it was. I think maybe due to one of my first games being that 6-0 game against Scunthorpe when there was a Holt and Jackson hat-trick. I think that was the one for me where, oh, the good times. I'm so glad we're smiling and howling because I thought by this stage we'd all be crying. Anyway, more serious matters. Which Norwich player would you back to cook you the best kebab?
Kebab?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess.
By the way, it can be X as well. Can be X players.
Can be X player. I'll give you a current and an ex player. If I give you a current player, I'd go with Anis Ben Slimane because I feel around Tunisia they probably have a really quite a culinary culture, and I feel like he's quite involved in that. Ex player, you know what? I reckon Gary O'Neill would have the best kebab shop going. I'm going Gary O'Neill for pass, and I'll go Anis Ben Slimane for present.
Right. Past Ozan Kabak.
Yeah.
It's his bread and butter, I'm afraid. And current's got to be Big Bad Shane. The kebab shop would be open until 7 a.m. It would have its own kind of draft beer. Somehow we would have allowed it. And yeah, the floor would never be clean. I don't know what you'd call it. You'd probably call it Duffy's Scruffy House or something. I don't know. You could just see that on the high street in Wroxham.
Why Wroxham?
I don't know. You go on a night out in Norwich, and, you just end up on a bus somewhere. Where are we going? I don't know, mate. I think Aylsham. I don't know. And then you just end up in Wroxham, and then you have the best night, and then you wake up next to a swan.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Carlos Cuellar. Don't ask me why. I'm just fancying Carlos Cuellar would do an absolutely fantastic kebab. If any of you remember Carlos Cuellar, then fantastic stuff from you. And finally, my last quick-fire question is, do you agree with Zoe Webber? Do you think the Wenson has got the potential to be the new cop?
Well,
I'll just add, she didn't say that specifically, but she was inferring that the Wenson might start to be very vociferous now. I mean, are you all for a vociferous Wenson corner, Freddie?
If the day I see the Wenson corner vocal and singing the whole game is the day I've lost the plot. So no, not a chance. No way is that going to get going whatsoever.
You know me, I'm a staunch defender of the Wenson corner. I think it needs some love, and ultimately it needs some people sitting there because it's, as you said before, it's the only part of the stadium that has any bare yellow seats, and I hate it when camera pans that little corner and there's just blodges missed out. It's like, come on, just shove someone else there, from the top of the river end. Just shove him in the Wenson corner. The actual corner itself isn't the problem, and maybe if there was a way just to up the vibes, specifically allow Jaeger bombs just for the Wenson corner, give them vuvuzelas no other part of the ground. I don't know. Give them all a free pie. I don't know. Yeah, perhaps the Wensum Corner won't be the next COP, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think that it won't be personally. But hey, if we can try and get Jack away from his sofa, from Sky Sports Plus into that corner for a season, then we'd all love to see that happen. And there's your quick-fire hot takes.
No, thank you very much, Will. Well, I'll pose the question to the viewers. What Norwich player makes the best kebab? Do you think the Wensum Corner can get going and get rocking next season when it's going to be nice and vocal according to the board and that little diagram they made? What do you make of the fan zone? Do you think Liam Manning should be sacked? And what do you think of Wroxham's High Street? Should there be more kebab shops on it nowadays? But anyway, Will says yes. Well, he lives there. I think he loves. I know he loves a kebab. He's a good old boy. But anyway, we'll leave that with you and for all of you to ponder on and think about some nonsense and maybe some smart things for once on the podcast as well. So whether you've been watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, we hope you've enjoyed the newest installment of the MFW podcast. It's goodbye for now. We'll see you in the next video of ours. And as my mate Will likes to say whenever we leave these calls, don't go changing.